experience and vision have shaped the industry in ways that continue to inspire all of us. Today, we have the privilege of hearing from these distinguished speakers who will share their experiences, insights, and incredible projects that have redefined the architectural landscape. Their stories will undoubtedly empower and motivate the next generation of architects. I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our speakers for being here and sharing their wisdoms with us. Your presence is a source of inspiration, and your accomplishments are statements or testaments to the heights that can be reached by those with passion and dedication like our Benilde students.
Here at the stage, Ms. Michelle Nikki Hunya, President of the Cultural Center of the Philippines, to deliver the introductory speech. Let us welcome her. A warm round of applause, please. Thank you.
Esteemed guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen, to my fellow Lasallians, good afternoon. After the century-old Manila Central Post Office was gutted by fire, there has been a renewed interest in the country's built heritage. The gut-wrenching fire incident prompted calls for action to restore and preserve historical heritage structures, architectural heritage. Starting with a lecture and pocket exhibition, we are going to witness today, dubbed Beyond Shelter, focus on women architects. Well, the lecture program and pocket exhibition reflect on the identity of Philippine architecture through heritage structures, dwellings and landscapes, and the position of women architects in the field. We hope to put the spotlight on the destructive onslaught on our built heritage, to tackle whether the neglect, the blatant disregard, and the lack of consciousness preclude to the formation or degradation of a nation's cultural identity. We may not be conscious of it, but architecture plays a crucial role in our lives. In a time when historical facts and cultural connections face their fading significance in contemporary society, it is important to evaluate architecture's cultural merits, analyzing its potential within national development. Understanding and appreciating its importance is the least we can do to honor their creators, especially our architects who are struggling between the wisdom of heritage conservation and the pressure of modernization. I'd like to take a pause from my written speech for this afternoon because I am inspired to see students, majoring in architecture, that I think this is an opportunity for me to appeal to you because it is indeed a challenging time for us. In our country, as you can see in the surroundings, we don't have many cultural landmarks as compared to other countries. You can actually compare when you go traveling. So my appeal to you is to really know more about preservation, and on top of that is to look at opportunities for future projects wherein you can integrate our national brand, the cultural elements on your designs when you are given the chance to start designing your own structures. Please try to create an environment wherein our nationalism is very evident through your designs. architectural designs. Also note that there is a way to embrace modernization and not lose the cultural elements. Okay? It is to promote Filipino identity, to remind the young Filipinos and the future Filipinos of their roots and of the culture and traditions. So please integrate it in your designs. Marry the old and the new. I was very inspired by, it's like an invocation, and it says that in Benilde, whom I really look up to because the brothers have really embraced change and pivoted to embrace new ideas, and you play a very important role in that. So I urge you to really make that huge change, bring out that spark, and it really begins not only when you graduate, but it begins now. So once again, we are very happy to partner with the DLSU CSB School of Environment and Design for this project. We hope this to be the beginning of numerous collaborations in the future. Thank you, and let us all keep supporting our Filipino architects and their works. Good afternoon po at mabuhay kayong lahat.
Maraming salamat po, ma'am. Please remain on stage po. We have a token. So may I call on our Dean for School of Environment and Design, Architect Harvey Vasquez, to give the token. Dito po tayo sa gitna. Yes po. Thank you very much po for the heartwarming and inspiring message. And we want to call on also our speakers for today, Architect Tina and Miss Choi. Please remain po muna for picture taking. And of course, our program chair, Architect Ven Quizon, for the photo opportunity. The program's still started. It's just started, ha? Hindi pa po to closing. Picture lang muna.
Okay, so now before we proceed with the rest of the program, let us watch the 6-minute video presentation by CCP about the 2020 Gawad CCP para sa Sining for Architecture, Architect Maria Cristina V. Turalba.
Si Maria Cristina Valera Turalba ay isa sa mga unang babaeng arkitekto sa Pilipinas. Ipinanganak siya sa Benilde, Abra noong ika-31 ng Oktubre, 1943. Natuto siya tungkol sa arkitektura noong siya ay dalagita pa lamang. Naging inspirasyon ni Turalba ang amaing arkitekto na si Ben C. Sullivan.
Even before I even graduated from college, I was already exposed to architecture, engineering, building, practices by my engineer father and architect uncle.
Nag-aral at nagtapos ng batsilyer sa arkitektura si Torralba sa Universidad ng Pilipinas noong 1965.
In the beginning, if you look back, no, when my mom became an architect, she was one of the few women architects. At the time, it was a male-dominated profession. And my mom being so small, parang ang lakas ng personality, naging architect in a male-dominated profession at the time.
Nag-apprentice siya sa ilalim ng mga national artists for architecture na sina Leandro Locsin at Ildefonso Santos Jr. Sa UP niya nakilala ang asawang si Antonio A. Torralba, na bukod sa pagiging arkitekto ay isa ring civil engineer. Naging katuwang niya ang asawa sa pagtatag ng Torralba and Associates. Kalaunan, ito ay naging Active Group of Companies o AGC na umabot na ngayon sa ika-50 anibersaryo. Isa sa mga proyekto ni Torralba sa ilalim ng AGC ang Malarayat Golf and Country Club and Residential Estates sa Batangas. Makikita sa mga istruktura at landscape ng proyektong Malarayat ang kulturang Pilipino, ang disenyong angkop sa kalupaan, ang pag-iingat sa mga puno at sapa, ang paggamit ng mga katutubong materyales, at iba pang mga detalyeng kumuha ng inspirasyon mula sa mga tirahang Pilipino.
They embarked in designing a place not just to be beautiful, but to be really a pleasant and wonderful place to live in. It's like, as the tagline that they both coined, delivering a quality of life that goes beyond shelter. So it's not just a home, but a community, a nice place to stay, a nice place to live.
Sa kanyang karera bilang arkitekto, nagkaroon ng pagkakataong makapaglingkod sa ilang ahensya ng gobyerno si Torralba. Dahil dito, nagkaroon siya ng pagkakataong ikutin ang bansa. Naitanong niya noon sa sarili kung ano ba talaga ang identidad ng arkitekturang Pilipino. Nagkaroon din siya ng pagkakataong palalimin ang kakayahan at kaalaman sa pangangalaga ng mga heritage site ng Pilipinas, tulad ng pangunguna niya sa restorasyon ng Baluarte ng San Diego sa Intramuros, Manila. Noong 1997, nagtulungan si Torralba, ang National Commission for Culture and the Arts at ang United Architects of the Philippines upang ang 1,500 estruktura mula sa 16 na rehiyon na itinuturing na mahahalagang pamanang estruktura at pook pangkultura ay maidokumento.
She had a book on Philippine architecture. So yes, I guess that's her being an academic side and a professor side, where she really wants to preserve the culture of the Philippines in terms of architecture.
Nakapaloob ito sa aklat na Philippine Heritage Architecture before 1521 to the 1970s na nailathala ni Torralba kasama ang mga arkitektong sina Jeronimo Manahan at Maria Jocelyn Mananghaya noong 2005. Lumabas din noong 2005 ang Philippine Heritage Homes, a guidebook kung saan kasama niyang nagsulat sina Dr. Jaime C. Laya at Martin I. Tinio. Humanga si Torralba sa pamumuhay at arkitektura ng mga ibatan ng isla ng Batanes na naging dahilan ng masinsinan niyang fieldwork sa lugar. Nakalikha siya ng mahahalagang akda tulad ng The Batanes Landscape and Ivatan Archaeological Landscape noong 2004.
So I guess when it came to her, that parang somebody had to, highlight and hey, wait, what's ours? Or else we might lose it. So that was one of the things that she advocated, I guess, as being a professor in UP, and she embarked in doing that book of heritage homes to try to find an identity to our architecture.
Para sa lahat ng makabuluhang ambag niya sa arkitekturang Pilipino, ipinagkakaloob ang Gawad CCP para sa sining sa larangan ng arkitektura ngayong 7 ng Pebrero, 2020 kay Maria Cristina Valera Torralba.
she deserves louder applause. So please give her. I think this is a proof that women can do this and equally practice architecture. So I hope, lalo na ngayon, the students, we have more women students here than boys. So I see in 112, in 123 batches, more architecture students are women. So I hope you are empowered, inspired, and I hope you continue working hard to be future architects. Thank you, and thank you again to our CCP for this.
Video presentation, okay. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to begin the first session of this seminar. We're very honored and delighted to have our first speaker with us today. She is an architect specializing in architectural heritage conservation with more than 20 years of experience in this field. She took her undergraduate studies in BS Architecture at the University of the Philippines in Diliman and pursued her master's degree specializing in the restoration of monuments and sites at the Escuela Nacional de Conservación, Restauración y Museografía Manuel del Castillo Negrete, Mexico Distrito Federal. She holds a doctoral degree in environmental science from the University of Shiga Prefecture, Hikone, Japan. She is the president of Escuela Taller de Filipinas Foundation Incorporated, where she has collaborated with other specialists in order to develop and execute architectural conservation projects while training the out-of-school youth in highly specialized construction trades that are needed to execute the work following local and international standards of conservation. She is a professor in the undergraduate and graduate programs of the College of Architecture, University of the Philippines, Diliman, where she has likewise shared her expertise in the said field in order to enhance the formation of other specialists and further develop the practice here in the country. We are blessed here today with a very engaging and interesting topic to be delivered by architect Carmen Petina Silao Bulaong. Let us give her a big round of applause.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. I prefer to stay here because you won't see me here, right? Parang ako si Architectural ba, maliit din. Actually, in honor of Professor Turalba, she was my professor. She was my professor, and I'm really glad na, you know, we're honoring her today. I'm sure there were other events before, no, to honor Architect Turalba. Ang memories ko sa kanya, you know, we would, inaabangan namin yan, dadating yan sa school. Kasi, it's a funny story because we knew whatever the color of her dress is the color of the car. So, that was inspiring na, wow, architect. Pwede ring, ano, no? Of course, I didn't reach that level as she did. But, you know, the contribution to architecture by Professor Turalba is really, I don't know, mahirap to reach that level, no? But we're still striving. And, well, I'm here today, and thank you for the invitation to share my journey as an architect. Maybe I can say I came from the, you know, the traditional architecture student, etc. I started working when I graduated. I took the board exam. I worked in an architectural firm for some years. And then I took my master's, as was mentioned earlier, But that was inspired by a lot of traveling that was done beforehand. And I said, I want to do that. That's where I want to go with my life. And so, when I got back, I started working first, renovating so many, there were so many projects, but I was doing renovation. And then when I was doing my master's, it dawned on me na baka dun talaga yung that's why it was so parang not really preemptive for me, or parang baka yun yung direction talaga for me. So the practice in architecture that I was in, doing a lot of renovation work, etc., was my training pala before I went into the master's program in Mexico. So when I got back, I continued practicing renovation work. But I had to leave again because my husband was the one going to take his PhD abroad. So we were abroad for so many years. But lo and behold, somebody was already calling me in 2008. I was returning in 2009, telling me, Escuela Taliar is waiting for you. No? Because they needed somebody to head the technical team to do the restoration work while training the out-of-school youth. No? So yun yung medyo short story of a long story. So I wanted to come here today, stand in front of you and tell you conservation or conserving Philippine architecture. It's about identity, about memory. And the question was, what is my role in this? No? So, let me just, how's that? Ayun. This statement, of course, this is not my words, no? These are statements of, renowned architects. No? Naghalo-halo na yan eh. Sabi nila, architecture is living history, unwritten records which are as revealing as any document. No? Lalo na with today's revisionist society, ito na lang yung proof of where we came from, proof of our identity and how we became us. Okay? And these are documents of our memories. But we are slowly erasing those memories. Parang, I don't know, are we focusing or giving more importance, no, to modernity, etc.? Kaya nga nung sinabi ni Ma'am Nikki kanina, no, na parang, bakit abroad ang dami-dami? You go to Italy, heritage is a given. They develop their cities, towns, but heritage is a given. Nandun palagi ang mga old buildings, no? Of course, marami ring pinagdaanan yung mga yon. Tayo sumusunod lang sa kanila kasi bata pa tayo. 'Di ba? So we are, the practice of heritage conservation in this country is still, na siguro ngayon, dati kasi I used to say, it's in its infancy stage. But now, I think, teenager na yata. Diba? We've become more and more aware, especially with so many recent unfortunate events, no? Yung ating mga earthquake, yung mga bagyo, no? Yung fire. These are all happening. Pero yun nga let's give importance to them, yung mga old structures natin. Because, as we said, ito na lang yung unwritten documents. No? Kasi yung mga written documents, madali yung ewan ko. But anyway, I don't want to be political about this. No? So, what have I been doing? Kasi, parang I abide by the concept na merong mga nagsasabi sa akin, mga mentors ko, if you want to learn it, teach it. So that was a challenge for me. I was coming back from Germany. There were already 2 offers to teach in UP Diliman, College of Architecture, and Escuela Taller was waiting for me. So sabi ko, puro ano yun na, puro turo yun na. Puro turo, no? But I was happy to do that because I don't know, Dean Harvey was just saying, bakit yung mga women, no, they, naisip nila yon, naisip ni Professor Turalba to go into heritage. Ang sagot ko lang, baka it's the nesting thing. I don't want to be too gender, masyadong sexist, pero baka it's part of the nesting instinct. Now we take care of heritage like we take care of our kids. So yon, I've been teaching in UP since I got back from Germany in 2009. And they gave me all these heritage conservation subjects. In fact, I was the one developing the curriculum for that because nobody else would do it. So far, I don't know how many have I graduated. They're here. So we have heritage experts among us. And hopefully, as Ma'am Nikki was saying, marami pang future architects who would go into it because we need as many as possible in the field. No? Kasi growing field pa lang siya. So I just wanted to show you, some of the, in UP, this is not a commercial or advertisement, ha? I'm just wanted to talk to you about my journey. Baka lumipat sila. Hindi, joke. Joke lang. So we have that program in UP, the specializing in heritage conservation is under our integrated graduate program. So the way we designed it is that, well, siguro parang na rin yung learning by doing, that we make sure that our students go out into the field. That's why you see those pictures that we go out to, different places where there are local partners who would ask us, oh, can you help us out? We need documentation. We need to prepare conservation plans. We need to prepare management plans. So we bring our students along. No? Tapos sila yung nag-hands-on. Because that is part of how we learn faster, no? When we do hands-on work. So these are just some photos, no? Nandyan si Sir Dean, nandyan si Dean. So this is in Baybay Leyte. We did some field work there, focusing on this old Spanish colonial church in Leyte. Okay? So yon. So this one, this is in the Jesuit house in Cebu, the 1730, one of the oldest residential buildings to date. Okay, so yon. So we went there, we were documenting, umakyat sila sa bubong na yon. The cavity between the roof and the ceiling, and then they come out, puro grasa. So that's part of the work, no? Yung getting down and dirty, etc. So, what is architectural heritage conservation? For me, there are 4 pillars. No? For me, this is my personal take on it. It's about information management because in this field, we are very scientific and data-driven. No? It's not just about nostalgia, but it's also about doing forensic work. Para kaming yung mga forensic doctor na yung kunyari may mga nalalaglag na bato. Ayaw namin pagalaw yan, i-grid yan, tapos titignan saan galing. Di ba ganon? Titignan saan galing yon because ibabalik namin yun dun. That's what we define as restoration. If there are lost elements, there are archaeological approaches to determining what was there before, with the view of putting them back or reinstating the lost elements. No? Later, I'll show you examples. The next pillar is managing change. Kasi ito yung sinasabi natin na, okay, modernity is a given. Okay, but how would new development dialogue with the existing, respecting the contributions of previous architects, previous urban planners, to our towns, cities, etc., to our built environment in general. No? So, hindi naman static eh. Heritage conservation is not aiming for a building to be static. As I said kanina, living ang mga buildings na to. They constantly change. They are always reused for other things because our lives are also constantly changing. At sabi nga kanina, no, architecture is an expression of the culture that created it. No? So, managing the change, no? How does urban development affect these buildings? Preventive maintenance, lalo na tayo, number 1 tayo, alam niyo ba? Number 1 tayo noong 2022. For the first time, number 1 tayo sa index ng country na with the highest risk and vulnerability to natural disasters. Ang saklap, number 1 tayo dun pa sa negative. Right? But yon, that's why this is a big concern, that how do we reduce risk, reduce the vulnerabilities of our built environment, especially our cultural properties, our heritage assets, whether they're buildings, sites, or even contents of those buildings. No? Kaya meron kaming ina-advocate na preventive maintenance because if your buildings, like you take care of your body every day, di ba? Preventive yon para hindi kayo magkasakit. You practice good hygiene, good hygiene. You eat healthy. That's part of preventive maintenance. Our buildings, in the same light, need those. No? So preventive maintenance and interpretation and presentation. Ito naman yung building awareness, building community participation, no? Kasi yung sinasabi natin, ang heritage conservation is a shared responsibility. No? Magtapon ka ng basura sa tabi ng San Agustin Church, you contributed negatively to that old church. Bakit? Kasi bahain na nga eh. Did you know that I don't know if you're familiar with San Agustin Church in Manila, inside Intramuros, where it is located, parang parang catch basin ng Intramuros because they're in the lowest part, no, of the area. So, bahain. So, if we throw trash there, then it will, have a negative effect on the building. So, yun yung mga concerns basically, no, ng heritage conservation. So, let me talk about Eskwela Talier. Who do we train? We train the out-of-school youth, both young men and women. And as I speak today, ito rin we give importance to the role of women, no? Not just as technicians, not just as advocates, policy makers, pero what about those artisans and crafts people who work, yung lumalambitin sa buildings, no? So we train the out-of-school youth. And for what reason, no? Two birds with one stone ang konsepto ng Eskwela Talier. Unemployment, no? And the loss of cultural heritage. So, ang solution, Eskwela Talier. That's why the Spanish and the Philippine governments established that, or established us. It is a brand that started in Spain, no? Maraming Eskwela Talier sa Spain at saka sa Latin America. This is the only one in Asia, no? Kasi colony. Joke. Hindi, pero totoo, they put it sa mga colonies nila before. So, what are the skills we train the out-of-school youth in? Skills that are related or that are needed in order for us to be able to properly intervene in an old structure. So yung mga old structures na to, they were built using very traditional techniques, materials, and methods. No? So ito yung mga yon, yung carpentry and woodworks, yun yung nagbe-build na walang pako, no nails, only assemblies, no? Only, ano tawag doon, yung mga joinery systems, no? Using wood. And then we have masonry, using natural stones, using bricks, and lime-based mortars, no? Yung mga ganon. And then we have painting and finishing, the kind of painting and finishing techniques that you see in old buildings, no, yung mga gilding, marbling, mga faux finishes, we teach that as well. And we have, of course, plumbing, electrical, and metal works kasi yung mga old buildings na yon, hindi naman pwedeng walang modern amenities like electricity and plumbing, no? So we teach that as well. So, where we are, we have, I'm showing you the map to your right. We've completed more than 20 restoration projects all over the country. No? Later, I'll just show you mga examples na lang. And we've trained over 400, almost 500 out-of-school youth. Okay? Yon. So, meron na tayong mga artisans who an architect can hire to be the ones executing restoration work. Yon, no? So, as I said kanina, no, preventive conservation has been the focus of Eskwela Talier all these years. We've been running for 14 years, almost 15 years already. Okay? So, ano ba yung sinabi natin kanina, information management? Ano ibig sabihin nun? So part of the work that we do, as we said, I mentioned earlier, yung forensic work, no? That includes documentation work where you prepare measure drawings of buildings, measure drawings of details. After that, we do condition surveying, no? Where we record conditions of the building, like are there erosions, are there cracks, no? May differentiation pa ng anong klaseng cracks yung pinag-uusapan natin. Is there loss of architectural detail? May lumulundo ba? Are there walls that are leaning? So these are put on paper, no? And then we diagnose and analyze ano yung problem. No? And most of the time, those problems have to do with water. Okay? Especially when we are dealing with very porous materials like our natural stones here. So, nandyan yung parang I'm just showing you very quickly, ano yung usual process, no? Before you can intervene in a building, you have to do investigative work, no? Because these buildings talk to us, tell us na ano yung problema ko. Parang yung ano, no, yung doktor nagda-diagnose ng mga problems ng structure. So, from the diagnosis, the analysis, we come up with guidelines and policies. No? Ano yung pwedeng gawin, ano yung hindi pwedeng gawin. No? What kind of redevelopment, what kind of uses would be compatible for these buildings so that their legibility as important or significant structures are maintained. Okay? Yun. So yun yung so just to show you, no, very briefly examples natin. One of our biggest projects is this. This is Malate Church, where we rehabilitated all the walls, no, yung mga exterior walls niya, dun sa iba-ibang facades ng Malate Church. But I'm showing you here the last part of the project where we intervened sa facade. Okay? So this is a Spanish colonial church. Notice that the ornamentation is very geometrical. No? So compared to our other churches dito, no, medyo unique yung Malate Church, no? Kasi because of the geometrical details, no? This is Spanish Baroque architecture, but highly influenced by Mexican architecture. Okay? And in fact, when we do yung color mapping, maraming mga vestiges, etc., we noticed that much of the color would match yung alam natin mga kulay ng Latin America, di ba? Yung mga vivid yellow ochres, terracotta reds, di ba? Nandoon sa building na ito. Okay? Pero yon, why is it gray after restoration? It's just the color of the natural stone that you see. Why didn't we paint back the colors that we found? No? Kasi, yon, I mentioned the word kanina na memory. Di ba? Memory sana yung yellow ochre, terracotta red, etc. that we found there. Kaya lang kasi, memory na yun nung another generation. This generation recognizes Malate Church with that color. When we did our survey, ayun, part ng heritage conservation, yung nagsusurvey, we do qualitative research. Ano ang pulso ng mga community? How do you want your church to be restored? Ang sagot nila, no, based on, after doing the qualitative research, sabi nila, oh, we want Malate Church, mukha niya yan, ha? So we want the face of Malate Church to still look old, but for it to also be reinforced. So parang kami, paano yun? How do you balance? How do you balance the old-looking with a reinforced facade? That's the result. No? So mukhang old pa rin, di ba? And the people, they were clapping, no, as we were removing the scaffoldings. No, unlike in other instances, we were bombarded by questions. Bakit ganito na yung kulay? Ano yung kulay na yan? Mukhang cake. May mga ganun na comments, no? No, pero what is the community saying? Are they prepared for the original colors? Because if they're not, then ito muna. Okay? Easily later on, we can put the colors that we found according to our mapping. No? Pero yun nga yung what is the community decision, no, basically. I'm just showing you some of our artisans who were many of them were women. Okay? This is Santa Ana Church. So, part of the work also is about removing incompatible materials. So in this case, in Santa Ana, you're familiar also with Santa Ana Church? Okay, good. So, maraming details doon sa, on top of the pediment, you see this parang scrolls, no? It turns out they were concrete, very heavy concrete. And they were breaking apart, no? Because of movement, nag-earthquake, may crack, no? So, upon investigation, we realized na, ano pala to? Public hazard pala. No? Because they were falling. They could fall anytime and hurt somebody. So, ang parang emergency work yan, that we had to remove and replace using the same material as we see in the facade. No? Adobe stones. Kasi yun nagmamatch. No? Plus, yung how it is connected, mas safe na because of the joinery. We don't put metal there because the stone is porous, and if the stone is porous, the metal will corrode. And that's why it was falling apart because anong tawag doon, yung naka-pierce yung reinforcing bars that were supporting the scroll. So these are, yun yung forensic work na kailangan gawin para maintindihan, for us to understand the building and its conditions. Always looking forward na what will happen if this, what will happen if that. No? Because if we don't, this building itself, it being old, will become a public hazard. Ayaw natin yung mga heritage structures natin nagiging public hazard lang. No? Because that is, ibig sabihin, diminished na yung value niya. Kasi public hazard na, demolish na natin yan. Diba? So, yon. That's part of the work. This is the color mapping that we also did for Santa Ana. It turns out, ito pala yung mukhang cake talaga. No? Because of the colors, may yellow ochre, terracotta red, may salmon. But remember, no, itong mga colors na to were the trends of the times. No? So kaya yung when we do color stratification, alam natin na yung sumusunod siya sa trend. Yung pinakahuli, salmon pink, American period. Ganon, no? So part yan ng investigation. Yon. So, pero same as Malate Church, ayaw namin mukhang cake. We don't recognize our church if it looks like cake. You have to give us the gray because we're used to seeing it in gray. No? Community, yun? Consultations with the community. Yan, that's how it looked after restoration. Of course, ngayon, it's already faded again. We need to redo it. It's part of the preventive maintenance. Okay? Yun. So, 2013 earthquake happened in Bohol, Visayas region. No? So we were there. Ayala Foundation called us in. Let's do training there, no? Out of school youth, etc. We did all the works. This was supposed to be a very small project, demonstration project, where we will restore this watchtower that was damaged by the earthquake in 2013, hoping that others would learn from the model. Parang ganon, no? Learn from the model. We failed. We failed, I would say, because it didn't catch on. You know, national agencies still did their work the way they would shortcut the work. No? So, ang daming mga reconstruction that happened using incompatible materials. Tapos tatakpan na lang nung natural stone. No? So, parang naiba yung work na ginagawa But we were there. We even established a branch of Escuela Taller in Bohol. We trained siguro mga 3 batches of Boholanos. So they have skilled workers in the area. Okay? So just showing you examples of yung how investigative work is done. We do probings where we remove the cement plasters that were added later on, only to discover how bricks erode because of the incompatibility in materials. Okay, so andyan yung documentation. We use a lot of legends, yung mga coding for us to recognize, ibig sabihin nito, eroded to, badly eroded, may crack, etc. Okay? So, notice, this is a 1910 facade of the Cathedral of San Pablo in Laguna. 1910 photo was found because of archival research. It turns out at the Lopez Museum, this picture was there. And now, the facade, yun nga, yung pinakita ko, puro cement plasters, no? They covered a lot of detail. Kasi shortcut. No, yung kayo mga arkitekto, alam niyo yung moldings, no, yung mga profile ng moldings. They were lost. But later on, after intervention, no, this is now plastered using lime-based materials, lumabas yung magandang architecture na ngayon gusto na i-declare ito. I think it's declared na nga by the National Museum. No? So, just to show you yung before and after, sabi niyo siguro, bakit ganun na yung kulay? Di ba? Bakit ganun na yung kulay? Kasi yun yung kulay na nahanap doon. Okay? Among other colors. Pero, present yung sa community, sa parish, sabi nila, ibalik niyo yung kulay na yan. So, iba-ibang decisions, no? Depending on the community. But we listen. They have a voice. Okay? Plus, pansinin nyo yung superstructure sa on top of the pediment. Di ba iba na yung design as in this previous picture. Okay? So, nakita namin na yun pala, na yun pala, binago nila in the 70s. Yung facade na 1910, binago nila in the 70s. Pero yung nilagay nila doon, concrete. So after the earthquake in the Visayan region, nakita nila yung what happened to the Basilica de Cebu. Are you familiar with the Basilica of Cebu? Yung may tower, the belfry fell. No, half of it fell. Kasi concrete na yung ibabaw. And it was so heavy. And because of the difference in movement, mabigat yung concrete, yung nandito sa ilalim, lang siya, coral stone. No? So, nung nahulog yon, sumama yung other parts, the other original parts. Natakot ang cathedral na ito. Kasi alam nila yung sa ibabaw, concrete din. Okay? So, tawag, Escuela Taller, can you check this? So, lo and behold, we found na concrete din yung ibabaw over bricks. Tapos, they were just piercing all these metal reinforcing bars to connect the concrete superstructure to the original bricks. So, emergency na naman. No? But, buti nilang, we caught it in time. Before a disaster occurs, we were already reinstating the original integrity of the building. We replaced, nakita nyo yung ngayon, yung where our Escuela Taller artisans are, parang may balustrade. Yun yung original design, if you remember the picture earlier. Those balusters are made of ceramic. Kasi yun yung original, based on research. They're lighter materials, more compatible with the bricks because of, similarity in materials. Yun, no? So, that's part of the work. This is in Holy Rosary Parish in Pampanga. So, anong ginawa namin dyan? Nag-earthquake 2019, I think, in April 2019. So, there were a lot of cracks already from wear and tear. Pero lumala yung cracks after the earthquake. So, we had to intervene in the various parts of the facades, no, of the church. Yon. This one is the old La Loma Cemetery Chapel in Caloocan. So, again, what you're seeing there is one of our graduates reinstating lost architectural details, no, yung aesthetics nawawala, nag-erode. And so, that's the before and after photo. Notice the before photo where you see the forested church. No? Ang daming plant growth. The roots were seeping into the masonry walls, pushing the stones out, no? Nadidislodge yung mga bato. And of course, that's a structural problem. Yon. So we had to fix those. And then again, it went through a color stratification, etc., researching what were the colors before, no? Yung back to the original. Kasi layers and layers yun, di ba? When you repaint naman, you don't remove, just repaint over, no? So we could test ano yung mga layers na yan. We make a study, we map out where we found the colors. So we map them out, present to the bishop of Caloocan, present to the community, no? And then they make a decision. Ito yung lumabas. Pero ito yung sabi kong controversial, ang daming nagalit kay Eskwela Talier on Facebook na parang, ano yan, bakit ganyan color, ganyan, no? But we didn't even have to answer because other people were answering for us. They were saying, that went through, that's data-driven, that's, So we didn't have to answer any. Yon, marami na kaming protectors. Yon, so I'm just showing you some of these examples. This is in St. Polycarp Church in Laguna. Again, the forest is growing, no? And because of that forest, they could not ring their bells. 20 years na. Kasi pag ginagalaw nila yung bell tower, umuuga na din. No? So there is real instability. So plus, there was a crack. Nakita niyo yung upper right photo? There's a large crack sa dome. And when, I think that was connected to the Taal, so there was ground shaking because of yung activity sa Taal volcano. Yung crack na yon, it progressed. No? The crack progressed. So, what we did was we even helped the parish. They were already raising funds. Meron silang yung tinatawag na fundraising campaign. No? So, the parish was actively raising funds. Kami naman, so we have international partners. So we tried reaching out to one of them. The foundation was called Gerda Henkel Stiftung. It's a German foundation. And we were able to help get a grant. No? So nagkaroon ng training of the local community para pag alis ng eskwela, hindi na kami babalik doon because they have their own local crafts people already who can maintain the church. Yon, so we did the documentation. This is the work in progress. So a lot of plant growth was removed. We had to take down the dome, no, to pull out the roots that were infiltrating, no, parang tentacles ng octopus, nakaganon. And then, what did we do? We repaired the supports of the bell, yung mga bells, no, kasi they were piercing the masonry, no, of the dome as well. So we had to do some repairs for that. We repaired the flooring, okay? So a lot of work was done because ang ano, no, very explicit yung community. We want to hear our bells ring again. So Eskwela Talier, do everything to make that happen. Yun. So yun yung ano, yun yung, that's the before and after. They were able to, in fact, we had an inauguration just a few months ago na yun, they were ringing the bells already. No? So happy yung community. So yun yung ano, yung fundraising nila, nakita ng Gerda Henkel Stiftung na, oh, they're actively, ano, let's help. Ganon yung mga international funders, makita na, you know, there's kumaga, you are helping yourself, we will also help you. Ganon sila. So, ayan, this is the most difficult project because this is located in Batanes, and as you know, Batanes is also the region where a lot of, you know, storms pass through. Okay? And this is not even in the island of Basco, but it was an island 10 minutes away by boat called Sabtang Island. And this is a village called Savidug Village, where they had the stone houses na lahat halos in ruins already. But we partnered here with the foundation of the Abads, no? Jorge Aurora and Pasita Memorial Foundation, because they wanted to help this community. In Batanes, I don't know if some of you have gone to Batanes. Ano yun, di ba? Yung parang ano dun yung homestay. No? It's very quaint, and then there are no big hotels except for one, yung owned by the Abads, no? So, the tourist facilities are really very limited. So they wanted the tourists who would go to this island to have a place to stay, na parang bed and breakfast. So the goal was to convert these stone houses into bed and breakfast facilities run by the community. Yon. So we were doing restoration work here as well. So as you see there, so we were training the youth in Batanes. We brought in our graduates. They stayed there for months kasi may skills transfer din sila. Sabi nga namin, oy, payback time. Kayo mag-train dito sa mga to. Okay? So parang paying it forward, di ba? Bukod doon, yung graduates namin, ang gagaling mag-basketball. Sumali sa liga. E nananalo tuloy yung team ng locals. Ayaw na sila paalisin. Ayaw na sila paalisin. No, but of course, they had to go back to their, diba, to their hometown. So, yun, no? So, yung roofing, kasi very traditional ang, how they build. But those traditions are based on tried and tested methods. Kasi sinasabi ng mga local sa amin, hindi kami basta pwedeng mag-harvest ng kugon any season. There has to be a specific season kasi they learned from, diba, from time that if they harvested it during the wrong season, nagkakaroon ng termites. Pero harvested during a specific season, I forgot na when, no? nag-ano siya, nagla-last longer ang roof. And there were a lot of rituals, no? Yung mga, how they would build that roof. Alam natin, bagyo, that roof is so sturdy. Kahit binabagyo, the way they have experienced typhoons made them experts in building this roof. The problem was, the old people hindi na napapasa sa younger generation. So, we were also concerned about how the skills are lost. So, part of conservation is conserving the skills. Yun, no? So, yun yung kagandahan ng project na ito. So, Paco Park Cemetery was also our project. Again, the mapping of the colors, and this is what came out. So yun, no? But we were also dealing with natural stones. Okay? So there, just showing you very briefly. All right. San Agustin Church is a World Heritage Site. Okay? It's what we call earthquake baroque. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And now we're dealing with an interior element from the 1600s. What you see there is the part of the documentation work on the wooden stalls sa choir loft ng San Agustin. 1600s yun, made of hardwood. And they're saying that the carving was even done in Macau. No, ganun siya ka. So, this was an important element of the church. Many of the parts were lost to termite infestation. Okay? And so, part of the work was knowing ano yung skill that was required for us to be able to replicate the missing parts, basically. No? So again, that went through a lot of training so that we could produce these artisans who could do and give justice to the original carvings because they were so intricate. Yon, no? So, this is another example. I have 5 minutes. Siguro I'll just go through this. This is the retablo of Our Lady of Manawag. No? Again, the same problem, termite infestation, etc. So, we had to remove, clean, replace, put back, basically. No? So, yan yung, that's the work. So, documentation, nakita niyo yung exploded, to see what was the details of the joinery, no? Kailangan, ganun din yung ibabalik. Okay, color stratification, again, to make a study of the original colors. And this is the finished product. Okay, Luneta Hotel, concrete naman to, no? Yung corrosion, because it's beside the sea, then we had to also do some repairs so that it doesn't become a public hazard. And we also do training now for the community. Kasi we realized, who will hire our artisans if they don't know na kailangan pala ganung klaseng work? Okay, so we did training. We were also partnering with some international organizations to do some training on, or conduct training on disaster risk reduction and management for heritage building sites and contents. Yon. So this is a training that we've developed, okay? And there was an unprecedented documentation of 40 sites, no, as an output of this training program. So kasali dyan yung mga building officials, no, young professionals, no, yung members ng community, even civil emergency response organizations. Okay, so that's it. I hope I was able to to impart some of my experiences, my journey as a conservation architect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Architect Bulaong. That was a very informative and insightful presentation. We are sure you all have learned a lot from her presentation and have some questions for her, but it will be after the next presentation. So please keep your questions ready. So let's give again a big round of applause to our first speaker, Architect Bulaong.
If I may add, si Ma'am Tina, marami ditong mga mentors natin ang naging mentor din siya. Si Miss Kat, si Dean Harvey, si Sir Mappy, who are teaching here also. Mappy's not here today, but he's also teaching now here in Benilde. Also Miss Arian. So, yun. So, let's now proceed to the next speaker. She is a Manila-born architect, educator, community builder, receiving her degree in Bachelor of Science in Architecture from the University of Santo Tomas. She then took her master's in Advanced Architecture at the Institute of Advanced Architecture of Catalonia, Spain in 2015. She was Associate Dean of the Environment Studies Cluster, School of Design and Arts at the De La Salle College of St. Benilde, Manila in 2014 to 2020. At the break of the pandemic, she left Benilde and organized Studio Nexus, a research studio of inquiry and speculation. Then established the Architecture Collective to explore methodologies in architecture education that is enhanced, empathetic, and agile. As a member of the International Commission of Dialogue in Arquitectura, she joins an assembly of architects and urbanists from Europe, South America, Africa, and Asia for collaboration. Architect Funk is currently the co-curator of the Tripa de Galina Gods of Estuary with artists Miss Sam Domingo, the official entry of the Philippines at the 18th International Architecture Biennale de Venezia in May to November 2023. In August 2023, she went in a 10-day bamboo boot camp in Mindanao, and then in September 2023, underwent an experience design workshop in Manila, care of Coos Pilot, Denmark, and Kind Mind Manila. Without further ado, it is our pleasure to introduce Architect Maria Cynthia Funk. Let's give her a round of applause. And then here.
Test, okay. Hello, Benilde. I'm very happy to be back. Yes, I feel like I'm back to my alma mater. There are a lot of new students because we have been away. The pandemic canceled 2020, and we were here 2019, but there are a lot of familiar faces that I have missed. And it's nice to see you again. Okay. According to Paulo Coelho, in his book, The Alchemist, a personal legend is identifying your purpose and having the desire to become the greatest version of yourself. My foray into architecture did not come immediately. I became a wife, a mom, and as such, I was so focused on the family and community. I also lived at a time when it's difficult to put together career and family. And I chose the family. Also because I got married, luckily, with a good provider, so I didn't really worry about a career. But the love for architecture persisted, and I thought that this predominantly male profession was something I could just manage by being who I am, staying authentic. This is a difficult journey that I tried to go into, and it has been quite an emotional journey for me, but I'm here for the long haul until my time is up. I keep on saying that because I have also cheated death. I have cheated a lot of things, but let's see if it will come up as I tell you my story. So I just kept on doing it. No adversity could stop me. Yeah, a death. I lost my husband 12 years ago, at the time when I was already practicing architecture. And I've gone through a rejection, a pandemic, my own imperfections. But I just kept going. The search for my personal legend was guided by my personal compass. And I knew that my character has been built in every single difficulty that I went through. I'll tell you a set of numbers. It was 1984 when I graduated from architecture at the UST, long time ago. Many of you, even my colleagues here, may not have been born yet. I'm not sure. Yeah, but I lived at a time, as I said, that it was difficult to put together a Korean family. And even at an early age, however, I've had a particular love for architecture that I did not even aspire to apply in any other course but architecture. And then it took me 20 years until I took the licensure exams and passed it. I don't know, but this should be a miracle. I mean, I don't know why you passed 20 years after, but I did. And immediately, naghahabol, I opened my studio and hit the ground running. I had a lot of friends who helped me along. Halimbawa, I needed materials or I needed suppliers, ganyan. I had everything. And then I really was very studious anyway, so I tried to remember everything. And I learned, I had projects. And this was like 5 years. And then in 2009, so I was practicing for 5 years. I was invited by a colleague here, Larry Karandang. He invited me to teach in Benilde. But even before that, I was teaching a part-time sa multimedia arts kasi the best teachers to teach human factors, yung mga anthropometrics tsaka ergonomics ganyan, are architects. At that time na wala pang architecture program dito, we were teaching already. And then I really touched base with my friends and made sure that I made up for lost time. I was telling Dean Harvey, that I also loved heritage. That's why I was very interested in what you're saying. But a good friend of mine who's here also, AJ, told me, "You're too fierce. You cannot do heritage. You have to do more than that." But I don't know what he meant. But I thought siguro he wants me to be a modernist. I don't know. So these years that I'm so late already have been a trek trying to search for my voice. So from interior fit outs, which is the easiest, to residential homes, as I love working with families, they wanted this color. We were looking at color. They wanted that color because it was the Mediterranean and we were joking Chinese Mediterranean. Pero hindi naman. This is studied talaga and because I wanted to give them something authentic. But I loved working with families, settling the differences among them and finding harmony in relationships. And I followed trends also. finding my voice, reinterpreting heritage and particular styles into contemporary expressions. Like here, I tried to make do with yung window na ventana and ventanilla, but in the modern sense, no? And then with clean lines, playing with disruption to express the intangibles. When I started teaching in 2009, I saw how crossing the gap between theory and practice was something that I enjoyed doing. I was a better teacher because I designed and built. And I was a better designer and builder because I taught. So it was something that was, parang I was learning as I was going along. Again, numbers. In 2014, I was offered the position, as was mentioned, as Associate Dean for the Environment Studies Cluster of the SDA, and I saw how man could be at the center of things with the environment enveloping him, no? So I had the fashion design, the clothes is the first layer of the environment, and then industrial design, whereby man manipulates things with his hands, and then the interior spaces, and then architecture, which overspilled into the city, and space. So I felt that I was learning as I went along, as I said. And so I enrolled at the UP SERP, no, the School of Urban and Regional Planning, because a master's is a requirement. But after 2 terms, it was found that I needed to acquire this requirement in a shorter time. And so I was given a study grant for a 1-year stay in Barcelona in 2015 to 2016. And I thought that this was an amazing opportunity. And, but I immediately turned into to my personal compass. One thing that I love about Benilde is it taught us to be there for the lost, the last, and the least. And I felt that it was what I wanted to do. I have already lived in Italy right after college, in the university, and years ago. But I knew that Europe would have a context that I ought to understand and maneuver with that creative fidelity. Because it has to be about, when I come back to the Philippines, how would I apply the learnings? And so I couldn't get lost in that, which will not be useful to the Filipino architecture student, because I was coming back to you, Benildians, while fully living and learning. But I have to tell you about IAC, the school where I studied. It has totally revolutionized how I saw architecture. It is a center for research, education, production, and outreach with a mission of envisioning the future habitat of our societies, building it in the present. So it followed a digital revolution, expanding the boundaries of architecture and design to meet the challenges faced by humanity. In IAC, we learned by doing, through a test methodology that promotes real solutions. It is inspired by the values of Barcelona, where architecture and design is, it is the capital of architecture and design, where urbanism was invented, and where a local high-quality and innovation-oriented research is connected to an international network of excellence in technology. For example, let me share to you my thesis. So, as you can see, this is, my site is Shenzhen, and the first thing to do is to understand the context. We were supposed to build a school, and we were a group of 4. And the farm, it was a farm of knowledge, where we were supposed to take care of food security, and also there was a kitchen, and so my colleague did algae. She cultured it, and then I was supposed to be the gateway. As you know, Shenzhen is the gateway from mainland China to mainland China from Hong Kong and the rest of the world. So as the one to design the gateway, I was supposed to research on microbiomes, which are the organisms that are found on the skin and in our gut. And it defines where you've been and where you're going. At a certain point, I was thinking, is this still architecture? So, but I did it because I was a soldier as well. And so one of the things that what was very important here is that my research was mainly inspired by Philippe Ram, who was an architect and a meteorologist. And ideally, when you create architecture, and I know that there are some students also, when you present your thesis, you're being asked, what is your architecture? My architectural material here is vapor. And it's supposed to clean you as you enter the school. This was 2016. I never understood what I was doing, but I did it anyway. But when we had a pandemic, I saw what it meant to be able to clean yourself as you enter a space, how physically we change the way we plan our houses so that you have the front porch, and you start getting creative. But this is the whole idea of how the environment is supposed to change by your ideas. And so, coming back to Manila, and I needed to go back to my context in the Philippines. My friends were asking me, Choy, usually you have a lot of questions. How come you're not asking any questions now? The truth is, I didn't know what to ask. I didn't know where to apply what I was learning. And I really felt that it was something that I needed to come to terms, no? As a teacher, as a school administrator, and as a lifelong learner. But in 2018, we had the opportunity. We were invited as a school to join the Venice Biennale, this time as an exhibitor. And I'd like you to look into this because Edson Cabalfin, Professor Edson Cabalfin, who was commissioned to do this, to curate the Philippine Pavilion in 2018, wanted to put forward the idea of post-colonialism and neoliberalism. Difficult words, but he was saying that the fact that we have been under so many colonizers have made us the people that we are, and that the current economical setup of the world is affecting our architectural landscapes. Parang ang layo ng bato, no? Pero this was what he posited, and he told this narrative through the title of his pavilion was The City Who Had Two Navels. The two navels were post-colonialism and neoliberalism. So Benilde was one of the 4 schools that was invited to present our thesis. And our site was the Pasig River. And the beauty of this exercise is that we did not just invite architecture students. We invited also all the other programs in Benilde who would want to take part. For instance, the arts management wanted to take part in the discourse, and then also the School of Diplomacy and Governance joined. And then discourse is the methodology which we used in order to train one's ability to look to the future and explore complex problems. So the type of design that we did here is speculative design. And we asked, if the Philippines was never colonized, how might Manila look like? That's the first question. Next, if if Spain won the war, and we know how that went, but never mind. Let us say Spain won. How would Manila look like? Second question. Third question is, what if Japan won? How would Manila look like? And then what if AI takes over Manila? How would Manila look like? This was in 2018. Now we are in AI. And so we did this work. And the studio culture was in full swing doing this because this like days on end, that just talking. We just celebrated Christmas, and then we went all the way to Tagaytay, and we celebrated Christmas together. But we were like really talking about how might we present the idea of the speculations, no, for the future. And this was what we came up with. We came up with the futures of a past, whereby we mapped the whole of Pasig River and then created that axonometric model of how the Manila would be. And then, not to explain so much, but those are the four answers to our questions, how Manila might look like. It will be Luzon in 2050 if we were never gold, maybe the color of the city, because the Chinese would be here and the Muslims will be here. And then the second would be the Spaniards, and there are like forms there which is Spanish, Intramuros 2050, and then the Japanese Manila 2050. Of course, because that's the whole idea of speculation. It's like a playground. No, you play, and we allowed them. And then lastly, Manila 2050, maybe the buildings will be communicating with one another. And so it was an interesting thing that we did. But while I did all the administrative work, because we were being checked also, it was fun to run a school this way. I also had a lot of fun working with my mother program, because I am an architect. I had a special love for architecture, but we did also a lot of work with industrial design, fashion design, and interior design. But in a certain way, because this is the architecture program, I will just tell you about the architecture program. In the same year, of a different month, we went into the Global Summer School. It is just for 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks of July, when we joined this, and the two themes, in 2018, it was digitize, and then in 2019, becoming. The brief of this program, and it was spearheaded by the IAC, my school also, is to find a societal problem and create a thesis around it, seeking to solve that problem. So the whole idea is for us to identify. When I was still here, there was, I'm not sure, maybe you still have it, but the platforms of excellence that was chosen by the program. And I love very much that particular platform, which is urban decay and resurrection. Because it allows us the opportunity to critique the city and how we see it, and how we might find solutions for the problems that we have. And so in the Global Summer School, we were the 16th city, and there were 15 other cities, and they were also looking for their own societal problems. And at the end of the 2 weeks, we were supposed to share with one another how we found solutions. So looking for a problem was difficult, because we had too many. Like, we had the traffic, and then, over lunch, we were just talking about even how we treat one another, even how we talk about things, about the lack of trust that we find in certain segments of society, and how we might be able to approach our problems. So, but then one thing that was very evident was the trash that was being thrown into the esteros. Because for some reason, people have become used to it and just live with it, and it's fine. Maybe when you talk to them, they will be looking at you and looking through you, and maybe they're thinking, but where am I going to get the next, our next meal? And so it was difficult to talk to our people. More importantly, with the Global Summer School, we needed to blend high-tech solutions to work with low-tech environment. This is my difficulty. We can use sensors, but in fact, in 2018, our solution was this. We were supposed to cover the whole, a section of the estero with parang kulambo. And then when someone throws basura there, the sensors in the poles will detect the throwing of the basura, and then it will go up, and then the basura will go back to the people. This was our solution. It was fun, but how do we do that, right? But we only had 2 weeks. And so we felt that baka there's a part 2. And in fact, in 2019, we did the same thing. And so these were the students in 2018. They were 12 Benildians. We asked permission if we could stay overnight. They slept here. They went to school in the morning, during the day. And then in the afternoon, there were lessons from Barcelona and other countries. We were listening to talks about robotics and sensors nga, and how we might be able to make use of science in finding solutions, ganyan. And we would talk about it. Tapos, they will sleep na lang siguro mga 2 in the morning, ganyan. Tapos, and then go back to school for 2 weeks. And then we thought, so we were able to present and we gave parang diplomas to the students. But then we felt, baka it's not healthy, no? That they sleep over, ganyan. And so, another thing is that the other deans of the other schools were saying, can you open this also to our students? But we can only take in so much. So they said, just tell us about it. And so, this is the 2019 issue of the Global Summer School. And there were 9 from the UST because they graduated and they were free that summer and they wanted to take on this workshop. And then 11 from Benilde, 3 from the Adamson, and 1 from the UP. And then we just made sure that all of the learnings were blasted in social media. And so, pero ito, nagkaroon ng development. Kasi we found 2 footbridges where the people, you can see on the left side, it's big enough for, people to hang out, for kids to play, and people to sell their turon in the afternoon. That is their public space. Because in 2020, at the height of the pandemic, Manila was declared the most density in the world. Actually, 74,000 for every square kilometer. Now, if I will translate that into square meters, that's 74 people for every square meter. And many of these are kept poor for the votes. And then you know the problems already of Manila. This is the land of milk and honey, ideally, but it's not. So there are many people who are here. And this is the difficulty. We don't have public spaces. And so we tried to, we imagined that the important thing here is that the community shared enjoyable and communal activities in a common space, which they don't have. So we thought that maybe we can do this. This is just a first iteration. We made use of the bridges and then created modules, making use of bamboo so that it's sustainable and easier to use. And it is what we thought could be a possible public space, and it's called acupuncture. You know how it is when the body is sick? There are temporary needles that are put on your body, and then hoping that you will get better. In urban planning, it is also a proposal that we can try to make public space acupuncture to relieve the sick city of its ills. And this action is also called guerrilla urbanism, whereby we don't wait for the government to do the thing, and then it's also not expensive. So when after maybe the 1 week and a half, we went to the site, and then the children were just so excited, and we know immediately that this public space will work. And then we were able to teach them also, even without words, what it means to do modern day bayanihan, and then how the community really activates and revitalizes our communities. I wanted to show you also how much these kids worked and became friends with one another. In fact, one of the kids there said, Miss Choi, we never knew the architecture can be done this way. We would just get our licenses and then we'll come back and maybe we can do work together because there are a lot of things that we need to do. And I want to share with you this short video that the kids did. Audio, please.
Throw garbage into the creek. This has been
Can we do it again?
the power of public spaces. How do you educate your people not to throw garbage into the creek? This has been cause of our desperation and inspiration. An open sewerage for Metro Manila, there are illegal settlements beside it, and they throw garbage into it. It runs through the area near our school, and for some years now, we have been studying how we can help in educating our people to respect the environment and throw their solid wastes properly. About 2 years ago, students and faculty contributed to research and design in finding a solution that will include the communities. Where there is no relationship, it is easy to experience animosity. With the environment, this is the case. We found 2 footbridges where people spend time hanging out, eating, and talking with their neighbors while the children play. So we designed a bamboo pavilion, which is an extension of the footbridges. The installation has been an initial test of the design. The reaction and involvement of the community has been priceless. Public spaces shared by the community will teach them to respect one another and share. With a continuous rapport with the community, we look forward to more positive responses to the relationships that are being built with one another and with the environment.
This was in 2019, and then the pandemic struck. We were all cooped up at home, but I continued researching, and there were many students who were due to take their licensure exams, and they checked on me and they said, Miss, what are you doing? And I said, I'm writing. What are you writing about? And then I said, I'm writing questions with no answers, because there are no answers, but the questions are important when we start redesigning the post-pandemic world. They numbered 12. And I said, do you want to meet every week? And that's when I started Studio Nexus, and I assigned to them topics like mobility, food security, work, education, art, and for them to do speculative design, research, how the post-pandemic world might be, because we really didn't know. At the same time, I was positing that there is wisdom in working with the communities for the resurrection of our esteros. And I was interviewed by a group from Ecuador. I joined a conference on co-governance in Brazil. And articles were written in Europe and South America. Of course, the pandemic made us discover online, no? So I was able to go to all these things and talk to them. Because this water problem is a problem of other countries as well. So it was so difficult to keep these kids of Studio Nexus also, hopeful, but we found a village up in Tagaytay so that they could be our proof of concept. And so we were able to apply to them all the things that we have learned. But while I was busy doing this, researching and working with those who were with me, documenting everything on the estero, from out of nowhere, a Filipina artist based in Belgium, Sam Domingo, asked me if I wanted to join the Venice Biennale and tell the story of the Estero Pavilion, of our Estero experience. lo and behold, we were thrilled to have won the commission to officially represent the Philippines, and we knew that this was a big undertaking. We had focus group discussions of
The power of public space.
What happened there? So here is the poster announcing our win. And so it was such a great experience also because I knew that it just so happened that I was the storyteller, but this was the experience of Benilde. And it was, so I wrote Brother Dodo, and I really felt very grateful. But then again, I wanted to go on doing it. And so we had focus group discussions, talking to the barangays so that the problem of garbage in the esteros was shared and felt. And then we had an interdisciplinary team. We had a social worker in the group, and then we had an engineer, and then we had other people helping us. I had an environmental chemist in the group so that they will help us also in working for sustainability plans. And this is the work that we did so that we, in the end, we proposed and designed to create a space in between the two bridges to encourage dialogue and build community. Through the research and a deeper understanding of our context, we asked, can architecture help transform paradigms in the physical sphere through the acupuncture of public space? So I was asked also in an interview, in one word, how would you describe this project? And I said that it is about relationships. I really feel that many problems that we are going through as a society is because we have lost our relationships with the environment and with one another. And so how does architecture serve a society like this? By creating spaces and conditions for relationships to be built and rebuilt. In the group, we did not forget the children who had their chance to express their aspirations for a cleaner future. There was Jag Garcia. I asked his help to create a film and take care of the other features of the exhibit, and I would like to show them to you now. While we were working with the community, we were also building the pavilion. And what began as a school activity in 2018 in this school has quickly become a forward movement in innovation, in architectural and urban space planning and advocacy for the cause of the urban poor and the environment. You can do this. Now, as teachers and students, all passionate about architecture and empathy for our people, we have all realized that the great purpose of education is not knowledge, it is action. So if your education doesn't pick you up to take action, I don't know why we are in school for. On the last day of the construction, just before we packed the pavilion for shipping to Italy, we invited some members of the community to experience the pavilion. More than for them, it was for us because we were watching them with much doubt in ourselves. Will this work? And eventually it was brought to the Arsenale, which is the site of the exhibit. I'll just show you a short film of how it, okay. This is Rhino that helped us document the whole construction so that it is built there, not by us because we just have tourist visas to be there, but the Italian counterparts were the ones who built it. And in 2 weeks, 2 weeks ba, Erica? So in 2 weeks or so, it was built, and we were one of the first pavilions to finish the exhibit, and we were quite proud about this. So. That's the curatorial note. And then there are projection mapping here for the history. So it is still in exhibition until November 26, after which it shall be shipped back according to the conditions of the material. It will be built in situ. It's actually, the site is actually behind AKIC. When we start building it, we will let Dean Harvey know, so that maybe you can swing by and try to see, because right now we're talking to the community and DPWH, DNR, and then we have to ask for permits. But more importantly, it is really an experiment to see if this is going to work. So this is the pavilion. With its features, we simulated the estero, and on that estero, we showed the interviews of the people expressing their dreams and how they felt about the basura and the estero. And then on the other side, we took a video from morning till dusk of the conditions of water for our ethnographic survey, and we reduced it to 10 minutes. And it gave the viewers a chance to see how the water is. And then, for some reason also, using bamboo evokes a feeling of peace. And this is another experience for me, no? To discover bamboo in a very deep way. The form of the pavilion also encourages dialogue, which should hopefully bring about renewed relationships with one another and with the environment. All the visitors, whenever they would come, they're all parang subliminally invited to sit there and just talk. Ganyan. And of course, when it gets built here, we'll put reciprocating towers para mahulog yan, di ba? So just to protect the people, but the idea of how the pavilion is really there to encourage dialogue. I came back a month after my stay in Venice, together with the other colleagues, and I registered to join a bamboo boot camp because I wanted to know more about the material so that I can share it with the community. It was in Mindanao, in Baganihan, which is at the boundary of Davao and Bukidnon. But it was just so special experience for me, because it was together with the Matigsalog tribe, and to watch them and to be with nature and to be with other friends who are passionate about bamboo. It was something that was very inspiring for me. When we saw the proof of concept, we even made furniture that's like bent bamboo. It carried me. I'm quite heavy, so I knew it worked. There are so much untapped opportunities of bamboo. And now, along with our friends who have also taken the boot camp with us, I am batch 20 already. And they did this, every batch would be anywhere between 20 to 30 of us. And we were all, not all were architects. There were some who were in business, some, but more importantly, all of us were, I think, patriots. We all love the country and we want to do this for our people. And I was there for 10 days. First time ever that I slept for 10 hours. I worked very hard because I was learning and building. It was not the architecture that I learned, because it was learning by doing, that after some time I was doing roof shingles and I was on top of the bamboo poles and strengthening the curve cuts so that with bamboo splits we will be able to understand how bamboo functions. And then after I came back, rest for a while, I also went to another training. And this time, it is on experience design. It taught me how we can design experiences with our creations, how our creations will influence by reframing our ways of seeing things, engaging people by opening our hearts and their hearts, and increasing the impact of our designs through the meaningful relationships that we're able to do. So I had bamboo. I had a way to extend, to create excitement for whatever it is that I'll design and how I can extend the experience. I really felt that my greatest inspiration was my love for the neighbor, for the next person. So I'm currently handling projects which I hope to apply all these learnings. The church I'm building currently with colleagues shall be made of bamboo. It's up in Batangas. And then bamboo is not to be seen as merely a construction material, but also for propagation and the need to be treated to function well. There is so much that we don't know, but I look forward to really building more and then building with other people. Lastly, the person that I am is also a lot because of my international network. They support me in all endeavors. Behind them are about 40 other architects from Europe, South America, Africa. We are the international commission handling this group of architects that do dialogues in architecture. Before I arrived, they ride a ship and then they go to different countries helping, building in areas that have been ravaged by disasters. And I would like to do that, but the pandemic happened, so we just meet each other right now online. But then the dialogues in architecture is meant to advance collaboration and exchanges for a greater cooperation among architecture practitioners and its allied fields. Some of them have come here already and have seen the Estero, and they have been a great help also in moving forward. So what's next? For me, I think I have never allowed my gender, my age, or my inadequacies stop me from what I feel I would like to do as far as architecture goes and everything else that is related to architecture. And perhaps this is best said by something that Rem Kool has said. He is highly controversial among my circles of friends, but this thing that he said is something I'd like to leave with you. Architecture is a fuzzy amalgamation of ancient knowledge and contemporary practice, an awkward way to look at the world and an inadequate medium to operate on it. Any architectural project takes 5 years. No single enterprise, ambition, intention, need remains unchanged in the contemporary maelstrom. Architecture is too slow. Yet the word architecture is still pronounced with a certain reverence outside of our profession. Architecture embodies the lingering hope or the vague memory of a hope that shape, form, coherence could be imposed on the violent surf of information that washes over us daily. Maybe architecture doesn't have to be stupid after all. Liberated from the obligation to construct, it can become a way of thinking about anything, a discipline that represents relationships, proportions, connections, effects, the diagram of everything. I think the deeper we go into architecture, the more we will understand that architecture is there for us to make sense of the world around us. The world around us that continues to change, that sometimes our teacher tells us one thing and you have questions because it's not how it was or how it is. Let us not stop from questioning and from learning together, because this is the only way that we can make sense of the world around us. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Miss Choi. We call her Miss Choi. Okay, my name is Cynthia. It's a very, ano to, inspirational, and it's very, I feel great that I see you now here. It's been a while since we saw her. Well, ako hindi pala. For the others, the faculty, other students, it's been a while, and it's great that one of you, this is your first talk, no, since the Biennale, so we are very fortunate to have her here also. So, again, it's now time for the question and answer portion. May I ask Ma'am Tina to go up and sit here for our discussion.
Okay, so to those students who have questions, kindly go to the microphone.
If you have also insights, maybe they don't have to be questions, but how you might react to what you've heard between Architect Tina and myself.
Wow, si Miss Kat. Go, Miss Kat.
Hi, ma'am. Actually, these are the questions from my students, former students from Architectural Heritage. Kaya lang they have to leave early kasi may class pa sila. So I'm asking in behalf of them. The first question from Ma'am Tina. Ang taas ng mic. Liit ko, feeling ko, ang liit ko. Okay, okay, for Ma'am Tina, how is a community-based decision made despite having a lot of discourse, like La Loma?
Actually, one of the methods that we did before, not particularly for La Loma, no, but one of the methods was to do that survey. So it was more like a combination of a qualitative and quantitative research. Quantitative, syempre, we looked at the numbers, what did they say? Pero the messages had to go through a qualitative analysis na ano ba yung gusto nila. Like in the case of Malate Church, we did that for the facade. And yun nga, yung based on the qualitative kasi parang you try to funnel all those ideas. And what came out was yung nabanggit ko na gusto nila ng looking old but looking reinforced. So we did that for Malate. But for the other projects like La Loma specifically, because you were asking about La Loma, the consultation was more with the parish. Of course, the bishop was kumbaga he had the last word as well. So, yun yung decision making that happened with regard to La Loma. Yun. But in the case of Santa Ana, it was with the parish community that we presented, okay, these are the colors. We did the color rendering based on the mapping of the stratification tests. And then we presented at least 3 iterations na this is what we found. This is the gray, and then there was another iteration, pero sabi nila, no, the community is not ready for the cake color, and so ganun yung for other decision-making needs, that's what we go through. There was a consultative, several consultative meetings, like after the masses, we would present, and then, of course, the parishioners were there, the community attended. So, nandun yung of course, there were discussions, they would ask questions. And then yung parang voting system was also used. So, that kind of thing.
I remember that, ma'am, kasi di ba yung part kami ng Malate research.
Yes.
So we were doing the survey every week, no? Lahat sila. Parang the question was to retain the old look of the facade of Malate Church, or to plaster it with lime talaga.
May mga statistical ano pa
Meron
kayo
kami
doon?
statistical data, ganyan. And then the kwento of the community, sobrang inspiring. Like, oh, dito kami nagkakilala ng napangasawa ko ngayon. So, wag niyong baguhin the look of the church because this is our church. May mga ganong kwento. Okay, thank you, Ma'am. The next question was how and where do they retrieve archival records of the SED structures and its development plans for... Yeah, maybe he's asking about the archival records of all the heritage, conservation, the projects that you had. Where do you get the archival records down?
That's for me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry.
Yung archival records, well, we have our national archives, of course, but we would also go to the archives of the, for example, we're dealing with a particular religious order, so we go to, because they also have a very extensive library. The internet is a very useful resource because there are a lot of people who would also post, no, yung siguro mga researchers din sila, they would also post. So when we talk about archival research, we also, kumbaga parang partner it or kumbaga supplement that with other sources. As I said, there's archival, of course, but there's also the internet. There are people you can interview. You can do crowdsourcing. You know, we did crowdsourcing for when I was doing my dissertation. I used Google Maps, but there were a lot of pictures that were coming up of old structures, old photos. Yun. So, ano yun eh? Information source yun. So, it's not just archival, but there are a lot of sources.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, next question.
Oh wait, do I have to introduce myself? Hello
Yes,
po,
please.
Miss. I'm Mantea. I'm from ID number 118. So I'm not sure if this is like connected pa sa topic, because this is, I'm just reading about, sorry, this is gonna be a bit of a kwento. So basically, I'm like reading a little bit about like, I guess, feminism and architecture, just because I got curious about it. And like recently, I finished yung, it's just a story by Luwalhati Bautista, which is Ang Bulaklak sa City Jail, and it's about the struggles of this woman who was imprisoned. And then what happened is, not only does she have to face the Filipino justice system as an inmate, but also she had this experience of being pregnant while in prison. And because of that, like, because I read that, I basically went like into this like small research rabbit hole about female inmates and like their experience. And in some of the things that I read, they basically talk about how like the situation with like prisons in the Philippines and like prison architecture basically is like the architecture design for prisons is still very like male-centric, like it's addressed towards the needs of male inmates and security. And because of that, basically female inmates have like difficulties, especially when it comes to things like their reproductive health while in prison and like gendered expectations when they're in prison. And it made me wonder, is there other like, this is the prison typology, and this is already about how basically like there's a like there's basically like this problem with the typology of a building because the female perspective hasn't been like observed and hasn't been addressed. Like they have this like very different set of problems from male inmates, and it makes me wonder whether there are other do you think there are other typologies that could benefit from like a different gendered perspective? Because it seems like for the longest time we have focused on like, no offense to men, what men need. But now that we're in is there other architectural typologies that need reconsidering with, and redesigning based on like our different experiences, like I guess addressing biological needs, but also maybe gender experiences, in your opinion?
I could only say that that could be a good thesis.
Well, unfortunately, I kind of skipped thesis last term because I had difficulties. So thank you for like that, because maybe nga po, maybe that's something I could do once I continue back to thesis, because I skipped thesis this term because I'm having problems. So thank you po.
I think it'd be good. I mean, just check your MRP and can do it next term.
Okay.
Ayun din, no? Yes, you can do it as a thesis. Really, it's quite interesting, especially now. I think, 10 years ago, during my time, no one even care, right? But now we are very conscious about how, our gender, our spaces are given more attention because of, these differences and the rights of the different
And I
genders.
guess I guess also I was saying like, woman needs, but also I also like, I guess I want to acknowledge that I'm not like trans, but I also guess I just want to acknowledge the situations of like some of my peers who are like, I guess what you could describe as they're part of gender minorities, and how the environment, like environmental design could affect them. It's like they're the ones that now experience what women used to experience, where we're limited to like this like space, just this domestic sphere, and now they're the ones who are like experiencing like not being able to access public utilities because of like their gender expression and like the kind of experiences they had to live with. So yeah. Thank you po.
If I may add, no, kasi you were asking what typologies.
Yeah, if you
I
feel like,
think it's across all typologies. We have to consider, especially, we're not just talking about man, woman, there are also other genders that are important for us to consider as well. So I think it's across typologies.
If I may suggest, you may want to check with the School of Diplomacy and Governance. They have a specific studies on this. But interestingly, I've had a lot of conversations with them. If for anything, by that thesis, even your faculty will learn a lot, because these things are very new to us also, no? Mm-mm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Thea.
Thank you.
AJ. Whoever wants to ask question, doon naman sa next
Yes,
microphone.
you can
there.
proceed to the mic.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Gwen Kaday. I am ID 122. And I think I wanted to go back to the topic that has been circulating around our class, especially. We also had a very similar talk about, I think also a guest speaker that came from Escuela,
Escuela Talier.
Yeah, Escuela Tarlier.
My
And-
ED.
Si Umpo yata yun last time.
Yes,
Si
po.
Si Fum. Yeah,
Yes, po.
he's
And
our
we-
executive director.
Yes, and I also attended the talk, many of us did. And our professor actually had this interesting question for us. 2 days before we had that talk, since the burning of the post office happened, should they restore it? And obviously everyone's answer was yes, they should. But because of, I guess, sentimental sake. But he argued that, well, nobody writes post anymore. Nobody writes letters anymore. Nobody sends letters anymore. But, why should we care about restoring it? Why not changing it? Why not completely destroying it and building something new? And I guess since we've dealt with the topic a while ago about architecture should not be static and it should be forward moving, could there be a middle ground between restoring something and yet keeping it, I guess, socially relevant for the users of the society? I wanted to know what your thoughts about it was.
I wouldn't say that I am, ang tawag doon, yung purist, because I'm not. In my point of view, and actually this is a research that I would like to do, the question that I wanted to answer was, or is, up to now, is heritage conservation for us just nostalgia? Because learning from my colleagues abroad, parang they're questioning our ways here. In our experience in the previous disasters that had happened in Bohol, etc., we did our research as well. We talked to the community. Oh, what do you want for your churches, especially those that were totally collapsed? And ang sagot, we want normalcy back to our lives, and that is connected with our church. So we want our church rebuilt as it was before. But when you talk to the Italians, they would say, but the earthquake happened. So do you want to erase that memory? That's why my title kanina was Identity and Memory, remember?
Yes.
Because if it's just, we just want to remember the good times. But what about what about World War II? We in so many years ago, decades of practice of conservation, we would rebuild, but we negate history. Nangyari ang World War II, all these buildings around Intramuros, our civic buildings, are rebuilt. But nowhere in the sites would you see any explanation that these are rebuilt. So we erased the memory of World War II in the buildings. And we made the same. I can't say it's a mistake because it's what the community wants. But in the eyes of the outsiders, yung mga Italians, yung mga other colleagues from Mexico, the erasure of the memory of the earthquake is parang for them that's negative. Yon. So in the case of the post office, yun nga, yung sinasabi ko kanina, heritage conservation doesn't, kumaga the goal is not to make a building static because the building lives with the users of that building. But there are changes, the paradigms of this post office has been changing because yun nga, nobody uses snail mail anymore. That's why we have what we call adaptive reuse or redevelopment. And so, do we want to rebuild or restore the post office as it was originally? Maybe for its value, its aesthetic value, yung architectural significance, yes. But if I were to do the restoration myself, I would leave a mark that will tell the public the fire happened. Yon. Siyempre, then there has to be a balance there. How do you solve the issue of an eyesore, of a burnt building, diba? And make it still functional. So yun ngayon yung there is where design comes in now, diba? Pero you want to tell that story kasi, no? Whether it's a good or a bad story, we have to tell it because we owe that to the next generations. That's my take on it. So, but how to do it, then that's where all this research has to come in. And of course, the community, the government, PhilPost has to share that decision. Yung hindi lang isa yung arkitekto lang yung nagkakamada niyan. Diba? But the consultative aspect of heritage conservation is really important. Yun. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. Thank you po.
Thank you, AJ. It's now your turn.
Hello, Tina.
Hi.
I've been meaning to ask this question. Well, I'm not a student nor a teacher. I'm just a crasher in this event. But I would like to get your insight, opinion, or position on the heritage management regime that the now Secretary of Human Settlements, Jerry Acuzar, is doing in his estate sa Las Casas in Bataan. Is this particular unique way of managing heritage something that we should continue, propagate, develop, even teach in academia, or do we need to stop it?
I'll give you a straight answer. We need to stop. If you are familiar with the Bora Charter, it says that transferring buildings to another site is a negative. We shouldn't do it. It's only done for emergencies, like, for example, if I recall correctly, somewhere in the Middle East, they transferred some of the pyramids because dadaanan ng dam. No? So, in this case, we've always tried to talk to Jerry Acuzar before, and his architect before as well, to tell them to stop. Pero the answer to us was that, what do we do? Because these old houses are left abandoned. So rather than having them, they will be totally lost if they're left abandoned, then we just buy them and transfer them to another site. Of course, that's our context. This is the Philippines, families have difficulties, financial difficulties to maintain these houses. Pero yun din, parang what was really lacking was the comprehensive research of how were they built, because they were transferred and then, a lot of things were not anymore, they were not anymore so, what's the term? Respectful of how these houses were originally. Secondly, we said, okay, so last resort, yung sabi niya, last resort na yun kasi the family cannot maintain, or they, more than losing them, let's transfer them. Okay, last resort. Second question, why do you transfer them beside the sea? Because I was there when it was still, fairly new. And after 2 years, I go back, everything was really deteriorating quite fast. So I really was concerned kasi nga, I knew the result of it was because of the sea, yung high salinity, and then babalutan pa niyan ng plastic kasi daw para hindi mag-corrode. Pero these are decisions that are mindless, maybe lack of uneducated decisions. And then sabi niya kasi, well, that's the only property that I have. It's by the sea. Okay, so my thinking was, so you're working around this context. If you were, or you hired the proper restorer, the proper way to maintain that was at least preparing a preventive maintenance plan for it. 'Di ba? Pero wala din pala, walang maintenance program. Kasi yung maintenance program na yun, we'll consider then, okay, we're beside the sea. What are the measures that you should take in order to protect these houses while they are there? Yun. So, wala din daw. So, he got a lot of, negative reactions. I remember there was an A-Care conference when one of his architects were there. And, we were questioning him about. So, my answer is, it has to stop. Kasi yun din, sa Bora Charter, once you uproot the heritage value is kaput. Yung heritage value ng structure, kaput. Pero yung iniwanan niya, kaput din. Kasi may natanggal, may nawala. As we always say, di ba, yung architecture is the most public of all the arts. Kasi dinadaanan mo yun, may nawala. Yun. So, it has to stop. Yun lang.
Thank you. Anyone else from the students? Ayun, here.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Jeffrey Ford. I'm a creative director. I'm just an invited guest here by one of the faculty members. I just want to thank you, the two great architects, lady architects here, architect Bulaong and Funk. They seem to be connecting the past and the present and the future. It's a great opportunity for us to have heard their experiences. Now, I just like to, being not a student anymore, but I just want to encourage the studentry to grab all the opportunities to take action and be part or even initiate community improvement like what Architect Funk, for example, in particular has led, like maybe starting with our temporary home, Vito Cruz, which a lot of you probably kind of reside here in dormitories and all that. So it's supposed to be nurturing us, but I'm sure everybody knows that Vito Cruz is becoming the new Santa Cruz, the old Santa Cruz. It's not in its best form, and like what architect Funk has tried to do with her projects, she's trying to revive this district of Manila. Now, I've always thought like studying UP, like if you were a student there, like it's an awesome place, you see. And I've been living here in this district with a lot of friends from De La Salle and Benilde. And then I always think like, kawawa naman yung mga estudyante ng De La Salle and Benilde. They had to, live in this kind of, study in this kind of environment. Sabi ko, napaka, crappy nung environment. Parang, wow, they persist, but, they're producing great thinkers and designers. But what more if we have a better place for you guys? So don't just study, graduate, but try to be part of changing this district of Manila. Let's make this a prototype place na makita nila, thinkers yung mga taga Lasal, taga Benilde na yan, na they change this part of Manila into a beautiful prototype district that other areas of Manila or even the rest of the Philippines can pattern from. So let's not be passive residents here. Let's be part of the community. Believe it or not, you are part of the community, and let's be really active about it. Thank you for you guys, and thank you really. That's all I want to say.
Thank you very much for your insight. We can still accommodate 2 more questions. Mga nahihiya. Di ba may question ka, Ms. Diane? So you may ask Ms. Choi.
Okay. Okay, I will be the one to ask question to Architect Funk. Okay, so you have mentioned earlier the the rise of artificial intelligence. So, how can it affect the way we perceive space, especially in bamboo architecture?
Well, generally, you have to know AI, no? You have to know what particular tools, because AI is just a tool, no? And oftentimes we hear it said that we are afraid that AI might take over, no, human intelligence, no. The thing is, you make use of it to to serve your purpose. And like anything, we have to learn it, because if we don't and the others do, and then we're left behind. No, so as a school, I think it would be great if we do not shy away from it. We have to get involved, but be critical, because that is what's important. AI, for some reason, it serves its purpose, pero in the end, that's why there are things like, for example, we just learned experience design, and it is giving importance to people's feelings in order for us to have meaningful outcomes in everything that we design. Machines can approximate it. They can still do it in the same way that AI can write the essay for you, stuff like those. But we have to use it, but let us refuse to be used by it, which means in a learning institution such as Benilde and all the other schools, let us not cheat. In order to learn, we make use of it just so you can deliver what is expected of you as a student. You make that decision to use the tool and not be used by it. Because one more thing, in society, there are so many values, core values, that we have lost. And when we start making use of robots or the machines to do the work for us when we can actually do it, and then we are the losers. The AI is right there so that things which are done repetitively would be something that we don't need to do, but the machine would do it. And then, I don't know, I'm talking generally. If there are like certain tools that you think is to be described as AI, and then let's be more specific about it. But now relating that to bamboo, for some reason, bamboo, for instance, they say you have to, how do you say, harvest bamboo at the full moon and stuff like those. No, that's why you find sometimes dealing with organic materials weird. Or kanina si architect Tina was talking about there are certain things that have to be done, and this is the belief of the people. So that's what I thought as well. And then in this particular boot camp, it is explained to us that in certain times of the month, it's like the reason why bamboo needs to be treated, no, by making use of water combined with boric acid and borax, like that. It's because of the starch that is in the columns, no, in the body. When it rains, when it becomes rainy, so it has a lot of starch. It's when it sprouts new shoots. And so it's when the mother gives birth to it. And so ideally, a clump should have 4 shoots, 3 mothers, 2 grandmothers, and 1 great-grandmother. And the great-grandmother is what you cut. And this is something like 4 years old or more. These are like terms that they have because if you don't know these things, and this is science, you just think that you have to do it sa kabilugan ng buwan o kaya pag Pasko, yung mga ganon eh. No? But there is science to it and it would be good to understand it. So perhaps if there's AI that would detect the presence of starch in bamboo, and then we would know how much time we need to soak it and treat it so that we can get the most out of bamboo. It's always criticized as not as strong as we would like it to be, but if you know the Las Piñas bamboo organ, it's been there for 200 years. And the reason how the way that they treated that is by digging by the sea and let it stay there and then covering it again with sand for 2 years. And now, 200 years, it's still, I'm just saying this because AI is science. And we can always make use of science for our use in architecture, in whatever it is that we do. So there. I hope I answer your question.
Yeah, thank you, Architect Funk. Okay.
Any more questions? Oh, meron pa. Isang pahabol.
Hello po, my name is Louise and I'm a student. I would just like to ask each one of you po, and in your own experiences, did you already encounter your most challenging ethical or cultural consideration during your heritage preservation or for Architect Fang po in your architectural processes that may have also affected your personal morality? Yeah.
My most ethical issues. Dami. I suppose, I can't really tell much of the details. And I don't want to hurt people in the process. Pero there are instances where, for example, there's a project and then we get a consultant who would have a certain decision that I don't agree with. So may mga ganon na and parang basta may mga political political undercurrents. That's the right term. Yeah. And then, pero in the end, so I did not agree to a decision. And then biglang UNESCO questions something that was done that I did not agree with. So may mga ganon. And then they asked me to sign I had to go against my boss and tell him I'm sorry that there's a management decision, but there's an ethical decision on my part as a conservator. Kasi sa conservation, merong ethics kami. So I couldn't breach that, and my boss couldn't do anything. Pero pinagalitan ako na, it's a management thing. Yeah, but yun. So I refused to sign a letter that supposedly tells them that my decision is this and that when it's not truthful. Yun lang yung ko na parang it's not truthful. I did not sign off on that decision. Now I'm being forced to sign a document that states it's my decision when it's not. So yun yung parang I think that was the most difficult one because I had to go against my boss. But at the same time, I have this ethical commitment that I couldn't go against. Buti na lang he didn't fire me. Yun.
Yeah, that's quite a difficult question, no? Especially now. Yes, yun lang, yes. I cannot also say much about the details, but it's like this. I think it's important for us studying, doing the work that we do, because we're the same. It's just that we have licenses and you don't yet. Eventually, I think that's the goal, no? That you get out of the university and then you get your license, and that is your responsibility towards society. You work hard on growing that matured conscience. That conscience that will tell you what is wrong and what is right. That conscience that will make you brave to be alone doing the right thing. Lalo na ngayon, napaka-arbitrary kung anong right or wrong. Diba? Pero ako, if I have a person in front of me who's doing wrong, like I'm going to have a meeting on Wednesday, good person. It's just that he finds himself in difficulty. We will talk, and then I'll tell him, I'll suggest to him certain things. You know, even things like, halimbawa, the fact that they're foreigners and they're practicing in the country. Parang ganon. Nasabi ko na. Pero ang point ko, I found an answer because they really love it here. I'm going to suggest, why don't you be a naturalized Filipino citizen? Then you can take the exam. Now, kung ayaw niya, yun nga, get a good lawyer. And then, kain tayo. Kasi I love also conversing with this other friend of mine. Fantastic conversations about doing good, especially in political stuff, no? And that there's such a thing as a statecraft, and then up to now, I live for those conversations because it's discourse. It's the definition of architecture, which is creating a diagram and understanding things. Not to judge, but to always be in good relations with the next person. We should never judge. Personally, I believe in something, and when I do something, I put myself in front of that greater power when I do something. And I think this is my personal compass. And I think this is the reason why I do what I do. So I love great architecture, and I love to do it, but helping my poor fellow men also, no, here. And I would like to sleep at night with that joy of having done what is good. And I want to keep people that I keep as friends. And until my time is up. And then, I'm a teacher, and I have 4 kids. I love them so much, I don't want to shame them because of something that I did. They're my inspiration, and my past students also continue to be my friends, are my inspiration. I will keep on doing this. So for you that I just met you now, just know that I know Tina also. We're seeking what is right, and we're gonna keep doing it. Last thing, Brené Brown, and I pinned this in my IG. Someday someone's going to tell you, you cannot do it. You don't have what it takes to do it. You cannot be out there in the wilderness and do what you want to do. You don't have what it takes. And I'm going to tell her, no, but I am the wilderness. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. The floor is now closed. To those who have questions, later na lang after ng awarding. So, I now call on Sir Ven for the awarding of certificate.
Before we officially end this very informative talk and very empowering, the architecture program would like to award the certificate of appreciation to architect Carmen Silao Bulaong and architect Maria Cynthia Funk in grateful acknowledgement of her expertise and professional competence as resource speaker at the Beyond Shelter Talk given today at the De La Salle College of St. Benilde, signed by yours truly, Architect Harvey and Miss Michelle Nikki Jr.
May I also call on Sir Harvey for the awarding of the certificate. Thank you again, Architect Choi and Architect Tina. Palakpakan naman dyan. Konti na lang tayo. Some of our students actually left already because they have class, but I'm sure if more people are here, mas marami pa po tayong tanong. So before we formally end the program, may I call on Sir Ved for the closing remarks. Sir Harvey na lang. Sir Harvey, any message before we end this?
Thank you for everyone for coming. Of course, we're always fostering thoughts on inclusivity, and it's not just about accepting individuality, but also accepting different paths in your profession. So in this talk, we were exposed to two highly dynamic practices that are paving their individual paths in terms of an unconventional practice. So we hope that you guys, in the future, when you graduate as architects, interior designers, industrial designers, or fashion designers, also bear this in mind that it's also a path to take to always think of a path na it's not always on the safe side. So take chances, take risks, and the reward is better. So hopefully we have a few more talks lined up for you in this term. So please attend them, and maraming salamat.
Thanks, Sir Harvey. Bago po tayo lumabas, maaari po bang lahat ay pumunta dito sa upuan sa harap para sa picture taking? Come on. English, please. Go in front, sit here, and let's have a photo opportunity muna. Okay, while everyone's transferring here, lapit muna. Ito po, may space pa. Elshan, MJ. Also, we would like to thank our partner for this event, CCP. Thank you po. Palakpakan naman natin sila. Without them, we won't be able to invite Ma'am Tina and Miss Choi. Yun. Hi, lipat ka pa dito. Meron pang space. Oh. Yun. Ako nakukuha ng picture.